humanity. Keep watching The Politics every Friday, 12 p.m. Eastern Time on New York Parrot TV, the voice for humanity.
Welcome to Talking Politics. I am your host, Robert Press. I write for the Bronx Chronicle, as you can see here by my official New York City press card. I also contribute to the Co-op City News and Parkchester Times. The latter, like this show, is part of Muslim Media Corporation. I also have a blog at 100%.blogspot.com and Facebook pages at 100% and What is Going On in Your Community Board. The views expressed here on this show are that of the host, any guest, or any commentator whose comments you may see scroll across the bottom of the screen, and they are not necessarily those of Muslim Media Corporation. As to, you may see that I'm wearing a New York Met jacket, and there is a nice long history to this. This is the old colors of the Mets. As you know, like I said, I'm a reporter, so I get to go into the stadiums. I've been at Yankee Stadium, and one day at Shea Stadium, I saw this jacket laying on a table, and I said to one of the people there, "Whose jacket is that?" And I was told, "Well, it's our former manager's, and if you want it, you can have it." I understand it was Buddy Harrelson's former jacket. So when the Mets fired him, they had no longer need for it. And the guy said, "Just take it, it's yours." And here it is. So as I'm wearing this Met jacket, yesterday was supposed to be opening day for the New York Mets, but it was postponed because of rain, possible rain and wet grounds. So today, under sunny skies but windy skies, with the temperature going up to 55 degrees, the Mets will face the Milwaukee Brewers in their home opener. The New York Yankee home opener is next Friday, April 5th. No, I don't have a Yankee jacket. And the showers that are expected for next Thursday could hang around for the Yankee opener, which could postpone that for the next day. Now, for this Saturday, tomorrow, it will be sunny with a high of 58. While Sunday will also be sunny, reaching into the 60s for a beautiful weekend. Monday, the sun continues with a high of 55, and possibly later in the midweek, the rain continues, as you heard me say Thursday. On to politics. A New York judge has issued a new gag order on former President Donald Trump that specifically bars him from making public statements about witnesses, prosecutors, or jurors in his first criminal trial. The gag order also prevents Trump from directing others to make any public statements about the potential jurors, court staff, family members, or staff. The decision was made in response to a request from an order by District Attorney Alvin Bragg's legal team to limit the statements made specifically by Trump for the duration of the trial. The decision comes a day after a new date was set to begin for the criminal trial, which is now expected to kick off with jury selection on April 15th. It would be the first time a criminal trial featuring a former U.S. sitting president is being held. However, one good thing in Donald Trump's favor, he did get his $454 million bond reduced to $175 million, which he should be able to come up with to keep Attorney General Letitia James out of Trump Towers. Now, we have a sad story that we had a traffic police officer was shot and killed. It was police officer Jonathan Dilla, who while making a traffic stop, was shot and killed Monday night. These are the most common police encounters with civilians and potentially the most dangerous, according to experts. In 2020, State Attorney General Letitia James suggested that the department stop making traffic stops following an encounter where an NYPD officer fatally shot a man who was pulled over for not wearing a seatbelt. But the NYPD continues to make these traffic stops, including more than 1 million in the first 18 months of Mayor Eric Adams' tenure, according to a 2023 survey by the nonprofit New York Civil Liberties Union. In the wake of Dilla's death, experts again are questioning whether officers should enforce minor traffic infractions, citing citizens for safety and that of drivers. Traffic stops are dangerous because you never know who you're dealing with, said former police officer Von Klein and CEO of the Police Research and Training Group Force Science. There is a constant tension between remaining vigilant and not becoming militant and paranoid. Dilla is the first NYPD officer to be killed on duty since January 2022, when Mayor Adams took office. City officials invoked a painful moment in NYPD's history when Officer Russell Timoshenko was fatally shot in the face twice by someone sitting in the back of a car during a vehicle stop in Brooklyn in 2007. What happened was that Dilla and another officer approached a car illegally parked in a bus stop in Far Rockaway, Queens, around 5:45 p.m. on Monday. The NYPD said Dilla was a member of the department's community response team in an unmarked car, tasked in part with getting guns off the street. Police said that Dilla asked the man to get out of the car, but the man refused and shot Dilla in the torso right below his bulletproof vest. Dilla's partner then shot the man, who was in stable condition, according to officers. Now, former President Donald Trump honored fallen police officer Jonathan Dilla as top of his class at his Long Island wake yesterday. 3 other living presidents, however, Joe Biden, Barack Obama, and Bill Clinton, came to Manhattan, but they did not come out to the wake. They rubbed elbows with celebrities for a $25 million fundraiser for President Biden that shut down Manhattan, Midtown Manhattan. In life, some things just capture a moment, and this captured a moment, Trump said after leaving the emotional wake at the Massapequa Funeral Home. This particular officer, a great officer, the top of his class, has captured a moment. The perfect family has so tragically been altered, forever altered. The Republican president nominee flew into Long Island to meet with the grieving relatives and hundreds of uniformed officers where he was invited. He spoke with Dilla's widow, Stephanie, and met his 1-year-old son, Ryan. People are very, very blessed to have someone like President Trump who cares so much and spent a lot of time with the family, said Nassau County Executive Bruce Blakeman, calling Trump's visit very comforting to the Dilla family. On to our state budget. Monday, April 1st is the due date for the state budget, and it appears that the state budget of New York will be late this year, as there are budget extenders being proposed by Governor Hochul to the state Senate and the Assembly to sign on. So it will be extended at least till April 4th, which is next Thursday. It's expected maybe they'll need at least 1 or 2 more budget extenders because the state Senate and Assembly seem to be at a little bit of odds on certain items with Governor Hochul. One thing is sure, though, that the state budget will be late this year. Now, in case you haven't heard, a cargo ship lost power and rammed into the Francis Scott Key Bridge, a major bridge in Baltimore, early Tuesday, destroying the span that collapsed in a matter of seconds, and plunging it into the water with 6 workers that were on the bridge fixing the roadway, and the 6 people are presumed dead. They haven't been found yet. The ship's crew issued a mayday call moments before the crash took down the bridge, enabling authorities to stop vehicle traffic on the span, Maryland's governor said. As the vessel neared the bridge, puffs of black smoke could be seen as the lights flickered on and off. It struck one of the bridge's supports, causing the structure to collapse like a toy. A section of the span came to rest on the bow of the cargo ship. There are several videos of the incident on YouTube, and it is a tragedy to the 6 people who lost their lives, and it's expected to take up to 6 months to find something, and it's expected that merchandise will be affected coming up to the East Coast, because that was one of the key bridges that trucks used to pass over. Now, Big Apple officials insisted that New York City is unlikely to experience a bridge disaster like the Baltimore collapse, saying its 14 spans are closely monitored and that massive cargo ships do not traverse the Hudson River or the East River. Our own bridge infrastructure is some of the most highly monitored infrastructure in the nation, and also coordination with vessels, and our bridge communication is highly sophisticated, Deputy Mayor for Operation Marie Jocelyn said at a press conference. It looks like Congressman Bowman, has put his big foot in his big mouth again. In the weeks after the October 7th attack on Israel by Hamas, Representative Jamal Bowman not only publicly cast doubt on reports that Israeli women were raped, but also called those accusations propaganda. There was propaganda used in the beginning of the siege, Bowman told a November 17th rally of about 50 pro-Palestinian protesters in Westchester, according to a post on TikTok. There's no evidence of beheaded babies or raped women, but they still keep using that as a lie for propaganda. Now, Bowman has tried to come back on that after being called out by the newspaper Politico. He said, as I said at the rally, what Hamas did on October 7th is a war crime. They must release all the hostages, of which about 100 hostages are still in Hamas's control. And the UN confirmed that Hamas committed rape and sexual violence, a reprehensible fact that I condemn entirely, Bowman said. On October 23rd, the Israeli government showed dozens of foreign reporters a 43-minute video of the atrocities, including children getting killed and some of the Israelis being decapitated. A few weeks later, on November 10th, a British newspaper also reported evidence of this sexual assault and rape that was obtained by video footage taken by Hamas and others. Well, I guess you're going to have to really put that foot back in your shoe. Now, congestion pricing, after 5 years being passed by the state legislature, has finally passed the MTA board by a vote of 11-1, marking a milestone in the years-long effort to pass plan and eventually a road tolling program that is intended to ease gas emissions and generate much more needed revenue for the MTA's capital plan. Officially, the board approved the tolling structure for the congestion pricing, which will charge $15 for vehicles, passenger vehicles during the day with reduced fees during the night. Motorcycles will be charged $7.50, while taxiing for hire trips will have further reduced fees, which are paid by passengers. Added exemptions in the congestion pricing are for emergency vehicles, vehicles carrying people with disabilities, a toll credit for low-income residents of the congestion zone, and for school buses that contract with the City Department of Education and specialized government vehicles that are needed for public works. However, government vehicles that are merely carrying personnel, such as our mayor, our city council members, are not exempt from this. And the news of the MTA vote was swiftly met with praise from transit congestion pricing advocates. I believe our transit advocate, Kevin Diola, made a comment, or will, but it also received harsh backlash from opponents who are among groups fighting the program in court. The MTA approval of the congestion pricing is a blatant assault on every New Yorker who's already struggling to get by. It's a disgusting cash grab that punishes our most vulnerable, those with no choices but to commute from transit deserts, Councilmember Bob Holden said in a statement sent immediately after the board's vote. Now, the state has also done something state lawmakers have set to try to make it easier for teachers, cops, and other state and local government workers, including themselves, to pad their pensions and leave taxpayers footing the nearly $4 billion bill, a new analysis said. The proposed changes, overwhelmingly backed by Albany politicians under pressure from workers' powerful unions in an election year, would instantly hit New Yorkers' taxpayers with $163 million in added pension costs, according to the Empire Center for Public Policy. School districts and local governments would also see pension costs rise, which would force them to either cut programs or raise taxes. The single most harmed employer will be the city of New York. Under the proposed rollback, pensions would be calculated largely on a worker's final 3 years of salary instead of the current 5 years, presumably hiking up their pension since they would typically be earning the most in their last few years. Democrats in the Albany State Senate and Assembly have called for boosting the pensions for state and local government employees hired after 2012, commonly known as Tier 6 members. Among the biggest benefactors are teachers with higher salaries than most government workers. United Federation of Teachers President Michael Mulgrew, who represents the city education, the teachers, is lobbied hard for this change, along with other labor leaders and legislative sources. Michael Mulgrew defended the proposed change as pro-worker on Monday. Mayor Adams had a press conference on Monday on Tuesday, which started off with somber silence, as the mayor and his top administration recognized Jonathan Diller, a 31-year-old police officer that was killed the day before in Queens. Adams said it's a senseless act of violation. However, that same evening, an individual on a subway platform at 125th Street was pushed onto the platform and killed by an oncoming train in what appeared to be an unprovoked attack. Adams said the violence pointed to a core of set problems facing the city: recidivism, severe mental illness, and random acts of violence. Adams noted that the two men were stopped by Diller and his partner, including the accused shooter, who had a long list of prior arrests. And Adams also said the man charged with the murder in the subway pushing was a recidivist act who had severe mental health issues. Now, I am going to pause for a break here. When I come back, I will have a little bit about the city of Yes and how the community board, how Bronx Community Board 11 voted on the proposal for the Metro North system, as well as Community Board 9 and Community Board 10, how they voted, because the three boards are affected. So let's go to a commercial right now. Okay, we're not going to...
Do you know that there is a publishing company that wants to make life easier for you as a writer? This publishing company is called World Inkers Printing and Publishing. We publish in all different languages, and we're looking for writers of all genres, all formats. We're looking for scholars, ghostwriters, playwrights, poets, short fiction, novelists, you name it. We're looking for anybody who is interested in writing and the craft of writing to be in touch with us. You can reach us at info.worldinkers@gmail.com. With World Inkers Printing and Publishing, you do not require a lot of money to publish with us. Contact us today at info.worldinkers@gmail.com. Become a winner with other authors at World Inkers Printing and Publishing. Give us a shot. We will surely finish you.
I may have forgot this. The presidential primary is going on. The early voting started last Saturday and continues through tomorrow. On April 2nd is the official election day. The polls will be open from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. However, it's going to be a rematch between current President Joe Biden and former President Donald Trump, who have clinched their primary positions, and they will be on the ballot unless something unfortunate happens by the time of the presidential election. The city of Yes is being called a wonderful thing that will create tens of thousands of affordable homes in areas of the city that many working class New Yorkers are unable to afford. New York City Mayor Eric Adams said an outdated restriction on new residential construction, also known as the floor to area ratio, FAR cap, currently limits the number of new homes that can be built in certain high density demand areas of the city, such as Midtown Manhattan, as state lawmakers consider lifting the FAR cap. The Adams administration is proposing a new zoning tool to allow even more density for residential buildings while simultaneously mandating the creation of permanently affordable housing across the city. The administration has continued to call the city of Yes housing opportunity, and they've called for lawmakers in Albany to create new tools in this legislation session to help the city build more affordable housing, including passing a new affordable housing tax incentive, which would be similar to the old 421A that expired, also a tax incentive to turn empty office buildings into affordable homes, and a pathway to make basement and cellar apartments safe and legal while we continue to have high amounts of rainfall that flood basements and cellars. So, I don't know if he's looking to put fish in the cellar and basements or humans. The city of Yes for Housing Opportunity is the most pro-housing set of zoning changes in New York City's history. These changes include lifting of arbitrary and costly parking mandates for new residential construction, meaning that they will not need one single parking spot in their buildings so long as the additional homes are affordable. Transit-oriented development and town center zoning, which would allow 3 to 5 story apartment buildings to be built near transit and along commercial corridors, and allowing homeowners to add accessory homes like backyard cottages up to 800 square feet. The Department of City Planning is currently undertaking its environmental review on the proposal and will refer it to public review by community boards, which Community Board 11 will be taking up this April, as well as other community boards in the Bronx. And the borough president will give her hearing later this spring, and it's anticipated to come before City Planning and the City Council for a vote before the end of the year. To accelerate housing production and deliver relief to New Yorkers, the Adams administration has advanced a number of creative solutions, including laying out an office conversion accelerator to advance the conversion more closely, unveiling new proposals, rules to streamline approvals for sustainable housing, and debating several pilot projects to help fund creation of the accessory dwelling units, to help move New Yorkers out of shelters and into renovated apartments, and help fuel mixed income developments in neighborhoods across the city, and other innovative efforts. However, there are still thousands of empty NYCHA apartments that exist, and also thousands of empty rent-stabilized apartments. Now, what they say is they call this affordable housing, and here is the City of Yes proposal, which I'll go through. There are several items. These are the key components: universal affordability preference. Allow buildings to add at least 20% more housing if the additional housing is for affordable. Delivering affordable housing to high-cost neighborhoods. Office to residential conversions, making it easier for vacant offices and non-residential buildings to become much-needed homes. Town center zoning, legalize housing above businesses in low-density areas, creating vibrant mixed-use corridors. Remove costly parking mandates, which reduce housing costs by making off-street parking optional in new buildings. And there was an example given on how much it costs to create 2 parking spaces last week. The accessory dwelling units is backyard cottages, garage conversions, basement apartments, giving homeowners extra cash and providing space for multi-generational families. Transit-oriented development, legalize 3 to 5 story apartment buildings on qualifying sites near public transit and low-density areas, which I will get to in a moment. Campuses, make it easier for campuses to add new buildings, bringing money for repairs, new facilities, and housing. And the last one is small and shared housing, lift restrictions on homes with shared kitchens or other facilities. So in essence, if you have a 3 or 4 bedroom apartment, you could just make each apartment an SRO, single room occupancy, and that the occupants would share the bathroom and share the kitchen and any other common spaces in your apartment. Now, when they say 3 to 5 story buildings in transit-oriented development, the Metro North proposal for the 2 stations at Parkchester, Van Nest, and Morris Park. Well, here's a couple of the buildings, and on Baker Avenue in Van Nest, there is a proposal to change the zoning from R5, which would be 5 stories, to R6A, R61/C24, which would increase it up to a maximum height of 125 feet or 12 stories to house almost 400 units, have 400 units of residential apartments, which could mean up to almost 1,000 people. At 1601 Bronxdale Avenue is a massive project which takes a 1-story existing manufacturing, which is the M1 zoning garage, and proposes an M1-1A R7-3, which would allow 185 feet of a building or 18 stories to house 2,083 residential units, of which 522 would be inclusionary housing, which probably would add at least 5,000 people to the neighborhood. In Parkchester, there's a site for a 17-story building. Now, the local community boards are involved. It's Community Board 9 that covers Parkchester. Community Board 10 is in the affected area of a half a mile from the proposed zone of the Metro North. Community Board 9 voted yes to pass it. Community Board 10 voted no. Community Board 11 gave 21 items that they wish to add to this. They want to, and I'll read them off 1 through 21. They want to cap zoning to R6A, which would mean no higher than 8 stories. The board wants 3 STEM schools to be included. They want independent infrastructure flooding assessment by an independent person. They want more affordable housing, seniors and veteran housing. They want creation of more green space. However, in an R6A zone, the buildings are to the property lines, which leaves no green space. They want MWBE certification for construction jobs. They want contractors for various projects to come from Community Board 11, the Bronx. And they want local businesses to have the first right of refusal, and they want union jobs. Now, those 4 together, you can't tell a contractor what to do. These contractors will subcontract, and so their subcontractors will subcontract. And we've even found in the past from the School Construction Authority, Marsha Kramer came into a school that was being built where a 14-year-old girl was working. So you can't control what a contractor does. They want economic development for the community. The most important thing is, since there's going to be no parking at the Metro North stations, and the Department of City Planning said you can take an e-bike to these stations, but what do you do on a rainy day? The board comes up, and they've come up with a great idea that they want a shuttle service bus, and it should be within a half a mile of the radius of the station. They want parking, but they don't really specify where. I believe they wanted parking at the station and at the buildings. They wanted parking, so the tenants would have parking. The board wants the MTA police and New York City police to be at the stations and in the area. However, the area is covered by the 49th precinct, and the 49th precinct, who at one time had hundreds of officers on patrol, are now down to 74 officers, as are most precincts in the Bronx. We have, and the 49th precinct is on a rate to have 3,000 crimes this year. Crime is up in the 49th precinct last year, and it's up again this year, as it is in the Bronx. We already have 5 precincts in the Bronx that have over 3,000 crimes. Yet we have precincts in Queens where there are 500 crimes a year. And the police, and the mayor and the commissioner are not looking at these precincts. And they probably have almost as many officers as the higher crime precincts, which is crazy. Mr. Mayor and Police Commissioner combined, you need to look at these precincts with low crime and reassess where these officers should be, because you need more officers in the Bronx. In most of the precincts, you've lowered the crime in some of the South Bronx precincts by adding officers, but you know what? The crime has moved up to the North Bronx. So you need more officers in the North Bronx precincts. Now, to continue, the Community Board 11 wants a community center. They want an increase in pharmacies in Community Board 11, since several have closed in Community Board 11 due to being robbed blind by shoplifters. They want an arts and cultural center, a library, and a supermarket. Those 5 items would come in under a community benefits agreement, which they should do with the Metro North, and they could probably get a couple of other items in there. They want improved infrastructure, but the community board committees should be calling in their agencies. For instance, the Environment and Sanitation Committee should be calling in the Department of Environmental Protection to talk about the sewer system, how it needs to be upgraded, because in big storms now, you have overflow pipes. One is going into the Hudson River in Community Board 8. In Community Board 9, there was one built from Soundview to go into the Westchester Creek. So these these storms, or wastewater systems cannot handle big storms. We need to have our infrastructure, and our roads need to be repaved and improved. There is a proposal to eliminate one side of parking on Eastchester Road from Pelham Parkway down to Williamsbridge Road, which would take away 140 parking spaces. This is getting crazy, and the last item that was added to the agenda is a building at 1201 Morris Park Avenue, which is currently a 1-story building. that is owned by Einstein Hospital, which is Montefiore Hospital. That is included. It is blocks away from where the original zone is, but that building was included, and it's proposed to go up to 12 stories next to one-story homes. So in essence, people living there will not have sunlight because it is big building at certain parts of the day. Their air rights will be violated. They're asking that this building be lowered to the 3 to 5 stories that is proposed in the city of Yes. And for, as a former community board member, I've made my suggestions to the board, as well as other people have made. The board talked about this but they voted 25 yes, 5 no, and 3 of the members recused themselves because of possible conflicts of interest with their employment. So Community Board 11 has passed this proposal with these 21 wish list items that they proposed. We'll see how many, if any, of these items get passed. And I'm going to end the show here because I see I'm out of time. Hopefully the New York Mets and the New York Yankees will continue on their winning ways that they have in the past. And hopefully we will have a Subway Series, World Series, but nobody can predict what's going to happen. It's 162 games, and then they play the playoffs where a hot team can just go from being a regular team that won maybe half of the games their year and win the World Series, as we saw the Anaheim, formerly Los Angeles Angels did, and several other teams have done now in this new system. And so let me say thank you for watching. Next week, I hope to have a special guest on that you'll really like. And I'm going to sign off now and say thank you for watching. And hopefully you'll continue watching Talking Politics here on Parrot TV. Thank you.